I love to say there are no limitations, and I love to say that we are here for whatever the community needs. And I think that's how a lot of our programming has actually come to life. The community has come to us and said, we want to do this, or we're looking for a space for this, and we found a way to make it happen. However the community needs the space, we'll meet that need. So,
for a small Catskills town that counts its residents in the low hundreds, the presence of a community center offering everything from art and music to pottery classes and a carefully curated thrift shop attests to a community that takes care of its own. I'm Brett Barry, and this is Cat's Cast. And today, we're back in Pine Hill, where the Pine Hill Community Center recently celebrated its 25th anniversary. We caught up with director Colleen McMurray and founder Florence Hamling as residents filtered in and out for some thrifting, a social circle, or just a midday coffee break.
I'm Colleen McMurray, and we are at the Pine Hill Community Center.
I'm Florence Hamling. I'm the founder of the Community Center 25 years ago.
Can you tell me a little bit about the history of this building?
It was an eyeglass factory where they just made frames. And prior to that, it was a gas station. They used to service cars here. There's a pit here where, they used to drain the oil or whatever they do. So it's been in existence for a long time. The original owner was the mayor of the town, I understand. I knew him when I was young, a little bit. His name was Charlie Griffin, lived next door, And so it's been around for many, many years, turn of the century.
Fast forward to 1995, when Florence's late husband, Bernie Hamling, purchased the building for research and development for his high-performance ceramics company downstate. 5 years later, in 2000, tragedy struck the town and prompted Florence and Bernie Hamling to found the community center.
Well, my husband bought this building, and he had a R&D here, small R&D. He was semi-retired. Anyway, he was here on a Sunday, and there was a lot of commotion. A boy shot himself. And so the parents carried him down the street, because the helicopter was going to come to the firehouse here and try to take him to Albany or Kingston, try to save his life. And so it was a Sunday afternoon. A lot of people were around, so they were all panicky to see this, situation like that. So my husband said, just come in. So all of a sudden, all these people came into here. And then the town people, they just had a very hard time dealing with it. It was such a tragedy. So my husband decided, and I, it's good to have a place for people to come, like a community, that they all can gather. So he was about to retire, and he was going to sell the place. And, we were talking, and I said, why don't we, make it into a community center? And that's exactly what we did. That's how this came about. So we've been here 25 years, and I hope we'll be here for another 25 years. Very successful as a community center. It was really needed. It's our pleasure to be able to do this for our community.
So, Colleen, how did you get involved with the center?
So I actually grew up in Margaretville and had moved away for college and life and had kind of moved all over and was living in Boston just before the pandemic. Knew I wanted to move back and settle here, and had always been doing nonprofit work. So when I moved back, I was looking for something community related, community relations related. And a neighbor of my parents actually was like, you are perfect for this job. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't been in Pine Hill in ages. And ironically enough, had run a summer camp program through Kids in the Catskills when I was in high school still. I was running a part of that program in Andes, actually, and knew that they had a program here. So I knew what kind of work they were doing already, and I knew that they'd been doing it for a long time. So when my neighbor had recommended that I apply for this position.
Your neighbor was on the board.
Yes.
So she's the one that
she was on the board and introduced
us.
Yes.
Yes.
So I had interviewed and really loved the board at the time and had been reintroduced to the space, which was drastically different from how I knew it as a child. and was also undergoing some upcoming renovations. And it just felt like the right fit. So when I got hired here, I started in the midst of a global pandemic and started when the space was under renovations. And
She's been the best director that we've ever had.
you
Over
can't
the
say,
25 years. Oh, yes, it's so true.
definitely edit that out.
You can put that, you quote me about that.
Yikes.
Everyone loves her. Young, old, and everyone in between.
Oh,
She's the best.
Well, thank you.
As the editor of this show, I debated fiercely with myself on whether to edit out or to keep that exchange. But Florence's genuine admiration for Colleen seemed, in this case, to override Colleen's embarrassment/diplomacy.
You're the director of this center. That comes with a salary, I would assume. And you talk about the renovations to the building. That costs money. How is this center funded and how are people paid?
We have, I think I like the word nimble, but I often use small but mighty staff. I am the only full-time employee that we have. And then we have 2 part-time staff who I could not do my job without them. And then we have a very strong group of volunteers that keep this space running. But we are primarily funded through like private donations, which is a huge bulk of it. And then historically, we've been funded through local foundations and grant funding. Just recently, I think 2023 was the first year that we had applied and received in our first year a state grant, which was very exciting for us, a tedious process. But we've been funded through the same grant for the past 3 years now, which is great. But it is a good balance between private donations and grant donations.
It works, you know.
Yeah. And our thrift is massively revenue generating. It is a huge bulk of where income comes from and also a great way we can serve the community.
And that's
So.
a volunteer, Burns, who really is in charge of that. And it's an amazing the job she does and how much the thrift shop takes in every year. Every year gets bigger and better. She deserves a lot of credit. She's an amazing volunteer.
It's a curated piece of art, the thrift shop.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thrift shop manager Burns Rothschild is a longtime Pine Hiller who we found organizing racks of brand new clothing for a spring sale.
Well, I joined the board. I'm not a member now, but I was on the board maybe 13 or so years ago, and I was just trying to figure out where my place was here. They had a room in the back of the center that was full of junk, and I asked if I could take over the space. I work in advertising in the city, and I get lots of free shit. So am I allowed to say shit? So I started the thrift store, and 13 years later, here we are. I created a monster. I have one helper, and we spend probably 30 hours a week collectively on the thrift store, volunteer. And it's fun. Yeah, when I worked on photo shoots, the stylist would give me all their clothes. And so we used to get a ton of stuff, which we call shoot loot. And we have a relationship with Eileen Fisher, and that's been life-altering for us. A company just sent me beautiful little coats for kids.
Fur-trimmed Oshkosh parkas.
Oshkosh, yeah, a whole bunch of Oshkosh. I might end up giving these away to families who need them.
What do you find special about living in Pine Hill?
I feel like it's the Wild West. You can kind of do whatever you want here.
Back to Colleen and Florence.
So can you give a sense of all the different things that happen here?
So on a weekly basis, we have exercise classes. We have a pottery circle that happens and an open pottery studio for folks that want to learn or folks that already are well-versed and just want to use the space. We have a social circle, which is a very inclusive group for anyone to come and meet and truly just socialize and occasionally work on their craft projects while they socialize. We have a gallery that turns over every 8 weeks and features a different local artist. We have our thrift that is always busy. We like it that way. We've got concerts that happen on a usually seasonal basis. They're usually a little heavier in the summer, the spring and summer, and a little quieter in the winter. But they are happening on a pretty consistent basis. And we've got some seasonal activities that happen. We have an annual plant sale. We have holiday bazaars with local artists that are selling their goods. We have a makers market, which is local artists right in this space here that they can sell their wares. They can sell their art. And really, we're just a space for folks to come in that need resources for anything and everything. We have a wellness program that includes, I always say, it includes our watercolor class because that is a social experience. We have folks that I think are coming more so for the social aspect than the arts aspect, although they love both. And we have a weekly Real Talk, which is a space for anyone to come in almost an Alcoholics Anonymous style conversation where folks can just come in and talk about anything that's troubling them or anything that they might need support for. A lot of our partnerships happen outside of this space, but on a weekly basis as well. So we also have, we're partnered with the Phoenicia Food Pantry. So we have a staff person that will go down and pack bags there for the families that we serve in Pine Hill and the surrounding area. And then they get delivered, and a couple of folks will pick up here.
And the Phoenicia Farmers Market, which happens here in the winter.
Yeah.
Very successful. Sophie Grant runs the program. And I think we just figured out this was our 4th winter together, which feels crazy to me because it happened so fast. But they usually function outside in Phoenicia. They were looking for a space inside and couldn't find something that was big enough and affordable enough. And we had the space and figured, what else are we doing on a Sunday? And that's kind of created a little history here. So they've been here for 4 years, every Sunday from 11 to 2. And it's brought a lot of new community members to us. It's brought people far and wide. They're definitely regulars, and it's become quite a social scene where people will just come and have lunch and head out for the day.
Are there any limitations on how the community can use this space? Or, in other words, if an idea surfaces, what's the process for bringing it to the center and creating a program?
That's a great question. I love to say there are no limitations, and I love to say that we are here for whatever the community needs. And I think that's how a lot of our programming has actually come to life. The community has come to us and said, we want to do this, or we're looking for a space for this, and we found a way to make it happen. Facebook message us, call us on the phone. All of our emails are on the website, and let us know what your idea is, and we're happy to work on it. However the community needs the space, we'll meet that need.
As Colleen guided us through the building, the space opened up around us, bright, clean, and inviting.
So this is the thrift shop. There's something for everyone in there, we like to say. And then this space out here is the makers market, which is local artists selling their wares. We've got our middle room, which is where a little bit of everything happens. So this is exercise classes. This section over here on the right is the gallery that switches every 8 weeks. We've got our stage, which is usually concerts, but has also been some really great lectures, occasionally a summer camp theater performance, self-directed by the kids. It's kind of hilarious. We've got a pottery studio through this door, completely managed by volunteers. I like to say it's a very co-opted space, and spring and summer is prime time for lessons and teachings. But every Thursday, it's a group of volunteers that will come in and like skill share, which is so fun because they kind of pick a project, we'll work on it. And on the first Thursdays of every month, anyone can come in and learn for the very first time. And then they can just continue to come and create. So it's very casual. And we don't want anyone to feel like it's a scary place to come or it's super structured. We want people to feel really comfortable. But it's the volunteers that keep it clean, keep it running, and then they just come to me when they need things to be reordered. So there's a membership option, and then there's just a day pass option. So folks that just want to pop in for the day can, and folks that want to be here every day can also do that.
By paying that fee, you have access to not only equipment, but supplies and clay and everything you need.
Yep. Clay, glaze, firings, everything you could possibly need. And there's always really great sounds that come from this space. I will never forget the day that Anne, who is one of our lead volunteers right now, she's really coordinating a lot of this space. She took her first wheel class a year ago. And I just remember hearing like this squeal coming from the pottery studio. And I like popped back here. I was like, is everything okay? And she was like, I did it. I threw my first bowl. And it was like the most impeccable piece of ceramics that I've ever seen. I was like, you just did that like your first time around. So it's very satisfying, I think, for people to create and then see this thing that they just made with their hands and they're very proud of. It's a cool space.
Then we popped into the back room where half a dozen community members were connecting over homemade cake and coffee.
This space is usually used for youth and summer camp, but during the week used for our watercolor class, used for right now social circle, which is just a bunch of good chit chat and snacks and coffee. And then the farmer's market usually does hot food back here. So it's a little bit of everything. This is our catch-all space. And then outside, there's actually a butterfly garden just behind here where the kids play in the summer. And sometimes people go out for a cup of tea, or there's been a couple music performances out on that little patio. And this is us.
When people want to book the space, is there a set price list or is there a suggested donation, or how do you work that out?
So we really try to accommodate to places that are local and are either underfunded or not funded. Or local nonprofits that we will happily let them use the space for free, especially if it's after hours and it doesn't require our staff to do enormous amounts of work. But otherwise, it's $25 an hour, regardless of how much space. It could be the whole space. It could be a smaller space. So if it's available, we want people here.
$25 an hour for the whole space is almost free.
It's basically free. And oftentimes that includes like, we'll make you a pot of coffee and you can use our paper products and you have access to anything you want.
Colleen, just a little bit about the day-to-day, like what does it take to run a place like this?
Oh, goodness. I could be here all day talking about that. It's literally a little bit of everything every day. For me personally, it is a little bit of grant writing. It's a little bit of social services when someone walks in the door and needs a resource. I always say my job is a lot of like finessing egos and listening to people's stories, which I love. That's my favorite part and also the most challenging part. And then it's really working hard on the partnerships and making sure that we are a part of the community and we are rippling through the community as much as we are serving it. So it really is a little bit of everything.
So this is a really unique and large space for a little town like this. What would you say to other communities about the benefits that a place like this brings and maybe a motivation to expand this idea throughout other small villages and hamlets in the Catskills?
Well, you have to have someone that has some money to get it going. And this is why so many of these communities, especially small towns, they try, but they don't succeed. It is a difficult, and a long process to get established. But once you are established, grants come in easier because they know that, you're here to more or less stay. They're willing to invest in you. That's what really makes it happen and develop. Without grants, it would be a lot different. It's a lot of hard work, and you have to have the right people behind it.
The center recently celebrated its 25th anniversary. Colleen, you've been here since 2020, so 5, almost 6 years. And Florence, you've been here from the beginning. Right. So what changes have both of you seen, and what direction is it taking?
It's growing like crazy. It's almost scary. We need an extension. No, but we know how to work it out and work around it. And, some programs, they're here for a couple of years and then they peter out and there's new ones. And it's good. And there's a variety of many different things, which keeps it interesting. And like I said, Colleen is one of the main reasons why it's so successful. People just love her. She knows how to handle situations, and she has the energy and the interests, and so it's very good. We have the right people.
And Colleen, what's it like working with Florence and having that kind of institutional memory?
I don't think I would have a career here without institutional memory. I think so much of what has happened in the past 5.5 years, it's been such an evolution of the past. And not being afraid to recreate it, but being able to move with the times and to grow in a, I think, sustainable way. We've also got so much of a new community and a changing community. And I think welcoming that community as we grow and shift and new programming comes in and moves out, the community is shaping all of that.
And for being a small town, it's interesting to see almost everyone involved. They just feel very comfortable here, and it's a friendly atmosphere. It's very good for everyone,
I asked what's on tap for the immediate future, and Colleen gave us a little preview.
We recently partnered with Catskill Neighbors and their new group called the Good Company Club. And they will be here Thursdays starting in July for a dementia social program where folks can come and meet with friends and socialize. And there's programming that will be happening. So whether it's pottery that they're working on or music classes or exercise classes, they're going to meet in this space, and there'll be volunteers that are also here, and they're all trained to work with folks with dementia, and they get to have a lunch that's made by a local restaurant and hang out so that their caregivers can have some respite. They can grocery shop or go to doctor's appointments or take care of themselves for a little bit. And I feel like that is like the epitome of what a community center should be doing. And I feel like we have become a space for folks to really age in place, and I love that so much because I think I moved back and I hope to age in place here. So I think it's the program I'm most looking forward to right now. We are gaining access to the second floor, which runs the entire building. It's huge, which will hopefully be a great meeting space and an office, because I have given up my office twice now for a thrift closet and a food pantry. But it will eventually be a programming space, an office, and a meeting space for both board meetings. And if folks want to book meetings here for external stuff, we've had the hospital come in and other partnerships come in and use it. But it is currently only accessible via stairs. So our next big project is an elevator, just a small elevator that would get people who need access to the second floor access and would make it easier to do quiet programs like yoga or meditation that I think are really serving the senior population to get them up there safely. So that is the next big grant application and big funding project. We feel incredibly rich to be this teeny tiny hamlet with both a community center and a library that has so many resources that complement the resources that we have as well. So we feel like we have won the grand prize of tiny hamlets. So
More info, including a schedule of programs, at pinehillcommunitycenter.org. Recording for this story by production intern Sierra DeVito. Transcripts by Jerome Kozlowskis. Catscast is a production of Silver Hollow Audio. More at catscast.com. I'm Brett Barry. Thanks for listening.